Welcome to New York City, the capital of the world. Welcome to New York City, a day on which I am quite embarrassed for my city that this animal is speaking at the United Nations. On Yom Kippur, showing the United Nations' total disregard for the state of Israel, for the Jewish people, for the sentiments of the people of New York, and for the sentiments of all of us who believe in religious liberty, human rights. Time for a reality check on Ahmadinejad. After the media fawning by the media in the United States, watching this man being interviewed on television, it's disgusting that our media is afraid to ask him the tough questions. No one asked him about all the blood of Americans that are on the hands of Ahmadinejad. All the American soldiers that were killed in Iraq because of the arms that were smuggled in there by Ahmadinejad. How many? Tens? Hundreds? Maybe thousands? How many American families are without their brother, their sister, their father, their child, because Ahmadinejad was behind the murder of that American? No one asked him that when he appeared. We're standing here because we're going to hold him to account. Ahmadinejad is a murderer of Americans, and he's murdered so many of your people, it's impossible to count. Thousands of Iranians? Hundreds of thousands? Wasn't this man a man that helped to hold hostages in Iran when he was a young man? And now they have him at the United Nations speaking on Yom Kippur? But you know who he is. You know how much blood is on his hands. You know this is a man who's denied the Holocaust, who constantly vows to destroy the state of Israel, who constantly vows to hurt America. And this is a man who wants to make Iran a nuclear power. You know what I say to that? No how, no way, never. And let's remember, this is not just about Ahmadinejad. He's going to be gone one way or another in a few months. It's about the Ayatollah, it's about the mullahs, it's about the theocratic regime in Iran. The United States of America, my country, the country that I love, the United States of America was for regime change in Egypt, and they helped to remove Mubarak. They were for regime change in Libya, and they helped to remove Gaddafi. The United States is for regime change now in Syria. Okay. If you add up all the people killed by Mubarak, Gaddafi, and Assad, it is nothing compared to what the Ayatollahs have done in Iran over the last 3 decades. If we're for regime change in Egypt and Libya and Syria, what about Iran? We should be for regime change in Iran. A couple of years ago, your brave people stood up in resistance to the mullahs, in resistance to Ahmadinejad. And this is a national disgrace for America. America, our administration, turned their backs on them. We have to redeem that mistake by now being in charge, or now being in favor of regime change in Iran. It's the most dangerous regime to peace and security in the world. It's the biggest state sponsor of terrorism in the world. People talk and worry about what will happen when Iran becomes a nuclear power, when they have missiles. Will they attack Israel? Will they attack Saudi Arabia? Will they attack American interests? Here's what I worry about. When Iran becomes nuclear, they presently sponsor terrorism all over the world. The biggest sponsor of terrorism all over the world. You know how easy it'll be for them to hand nuclear material off to those terrorists? How easy it will be to hand that nuclear material off and then have them set off dirty bombs in New York or Washington or Miami or Los Angeles or London or Paris. And then what will the regime in Iran do? What will the regime in Iran do if they get caught? They'll do what they're doing right now. They'll lie. They should not be allowed to have nuclear weapons. And we need leadership in America. I said this 4 years ago. It's true even more today. Where is our American president who will stand up and point at Iran and say, tear down this theocracy? Tear down the murdering mullahs. Where is that president like Ronald Reagan? America and the world needs that now. We need a strong president. We need strong words, not weasel words. It reminds me of something. It reminds me of 1979 and 1980. For 444 days, Americans were held hostage in Iran. For 444 days, the Iranian government heard weak words from Jimmy Carter. They looked in Jimmy Carter's eyes and they saw weakness. For 2 hours, they looked into Ronald Reagan's eyes and they released the hostages. We need strength. We need a clear statement of regime change. We need a clear statement that military action will be taken if Iran goes beyond a certain point. And if that happens, there's less of a chance that military action will be necessary. A strong America can make a peaceful change in Iran a lot more possible. And at the core of that is the MEK. At the core of that are all you people who stand for the same things that we stand for. A secular government in Iran, freedom of religion, separation of church and state, gender equality, respect for human rights, a modern legal system, and a non-nuclear Iran. All of us working together have helped to lift and to get the MEK delisted. Many deserve praise. Many people deserve praise. We praise Secretary of State Hillary Clinton for making this decision. We praise the elected officials, over 140 of them, who came out in favor of this even before she made the decision. We praise the 70 or 80 former officials who have stood with us, even under difficult circumstances. But most important, here's who we praise for this decision: the people in Camp Liberty and Camp Ashraf. And we have a message for them. And we have a message for them. It's as if we are there with you right now. This is just the beginning of the changes that are necessary so that you can be relocated to places where you'll be safe, and so that you can pursue your agenda of a free, democratic, and fair Iran. And most of all, the person that we have to praise for this is Madam Mariam Rajavi. She's the president-elect of the National Council of Resistance in Iran. I've come to know her All my colleagues have come to know her. We have great respect for her. We realize her dedication to freedom, to democracy, to a lawful and peaceful Iran. Over the last 6 months, we've watched her agonize about the safety of the people in Camp Liberty and Camp Ashraf. Every decision she had to make, she knew their lives were at stake, and that weighed with her, and that stayed with her. They're a woman of great compassion and great leadership. Without her, we would not be where we are today. With her, we can see a very different path for Iran and the Middle East. As the people of America get to know Madam Rajavi, they're going to get to see a totally different path for the Middle East. Totally different path for the Middle East. How about a government in the Middle East that is headed by a woman? Man, wouldn't that crack through the barrier? And a woman who has respect for all religions, not domination by one. This is a great woman. This is a great patriot. This is a woman who understands the inherent values of the United States and the universal values that should be at the bedrock of that institution across the street. It is my great honor to present to you the President-elect, Madam Rajavi.